3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Force podcast, a podcast from 3 Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. This is our season 2, episode 31, and today we are going to be discussing some interesting Star Wars news that we received recently. What was it, Goose?
Well, yeah, it's a little bombshell that dropped, Friday? All of a sudden, the Hollywood Reporter decided to gift us with an article that revealed that apparently Hayden Christensen will not only be showing up in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show as Darth Vader, but will be showing up on the Ahsoka show as Anakin Skywalker. Minds blown. Jesus Christ. Who would have expected this?
I know. We were kind of hoping for it, I think, when we first started discussing like the Ahsoka live action show and everything, but never in a blue moon that I think that this was actually going to happen.
Yeah.
So it implies some interesting things now that we have Hayden Christensen returning to both of these shows in, the live action realm. So yeah, I don't know what to say, really.
I mean, it's just, I think it's weird and interesting, right? Because obviously I want Hayden Christensen to come back and have his time to redeem himself from like some of the bad writing choices that George offered him. That like a lot of people say that, Anakin Skywalker and whatnot. It's like, I mean, the guy's a good actor. He's won awards and done a lot of indie films. It's just that the material, come on, George did not do him any favors. So yes. I'm glad that he's able to come back into Star Wars, be embraced by the fans, and then be able to give a worthy performance. So I'm excited for that. One of the things, though, that I think is interesting about, especially with Ahsoka, and we'll talk about what that means with Obi-Wan, if there's any possibility of kind of a crossover. But I think one of the interesting things with Ahsoka is that since Ahsoka is placed in the post-Return of the Jedi galaxy, so it's like 5+ years after Return of the Jedi, set during the time of the Mandalorian, it means that the Anakin we'll see, I mean, and this is all speculation, right? Because we don't really know much about the show beyond that she's looking for Emerald Throne and when it's set. But if he's going to show up like in the present time, the only way that he can show up, because he's been burnt to a crisp by Luke on a bonfire, is as a Force ghost.
Yeah.
So while I do like him coming back as a Force ghost to his former Padawan, I think one of the things that's interesting to kind of address is his lack of appearances in the sequel trilogy. So it's like, you're telling me that he shows up to his Padawan, but never shows up to his kids or his grandson. I don't know. I think that's an interesting implication.
That's why he's not going to show up as a Padawan. It's going to be the world between worlds. So it's going to go back to younger Anakin to prevent the rise of Vader. And I
hope they don't do that, because then it's like, what's happening with the timeline?
But wait, check this out. This where it's gonna close loop.
Watch out.
The only way Ahsoka can do that is by sending them to Mortis, and that's how you get the Mortis arc. But they forget, ergo, it never happens. It's gonna be a closed loop.
That could be interesting, but I have problems with stories that, I mean, because that's akin to like when you have a movie or a TV show, and then at the end of it they wake up and it was all a dream. It's just like, what is this? So sometimes when those things happen, if done well, like the Mortis arc, I think could work. But if there's like no payoff or consequences to what happened, I'm not sure of like its value in storytelling. I don't know. What do you think, Manny?
Yeah, I wouldn't want them to like kind of try to bring back Anakin or save Anakin or whatever, because then we lose Darth Vader. There's no way we want to lose Darth Vader ever. I'm sorry, Mo. No. But I do think, I mean, we don't necessarily have to get him back as a Force ghost. We could have flashback scenes back to like the Clone Wars and, Ahsoka's formation and all of this stuff. And as coming back as a Force ghost, though, would be redeeming, because we would see this Anakin that actually, overcame who he was as, dark side Darth Vader, because he embraced, saving his son and all these things. And I think it would be a good chance to like reconnect with Ahsoka, you know, because the last time they actually saw each other, they were trying to kill each other. So it would be nice, but it does, like you were saying, Goose, bring some implications about why he would not then become involved with his family, with everything that was happening. And I think it would, there's difficulties there, I think, because one, I feel like you also have to be like amenable to receive that influence. And somebody like Kylo, who always saw Anakin as Darth Vader, not as this person that redeemed themselves, would never accept an Anakin Force Ghost to come in and try to influence him. So I feel like you have to be open for that connection to happen. And I feel that Luke was in too much of like a dark place after everything and the failure. And I don't think he would be also open to maybe having that conversation with Anakin. And Anakin never had any sort of relationship with Leia. So I feel like maybe those things would have affected him showing up or not as a Force Ghost, because the one Force Ghost that we really do get for Luke is Yoda, and it makes sense at the moment that Yoda shows up. So
I mean, but as you were saying, that's something kind of like sprung into my mind, and let's see if this could be like a possibility. We already saw Luke in The Mandalorian, so it's not within the realm of impossibility of Luke showing up in live action, like in these shows again. So what if like Anakin's involvement in the show with Ahsoka, I mean, it could go beyond what I'm about to say, but what if it's anchored by Luke showing up and meeting Ahsoka, and Luke and Ahsoka meet, and through that meeting, like Anakin is able to manifest himself again and talk to the both of them. I'm not saying Luke has to continue like with the show, but yeah, I mean, maybe that connection of like both his children, like his adoptive Padawan daughter Ahsoka, and then like Luke, the son who redeemed him, together kind of is able to open up that connection. Or maybe Luke has been seeing Anakin before, just we haven't seen it on screen. Because obviously we know he's seen him because he saw him at the end of Return of the Jedi. But in the Ahsoka show, Luke is able to be like, "Hey, Dad, come down. I'm here with your Padawan." And then she's able to meet him, and the three of them have like a really cool, deep philosophical conversation. And then Luke walks off to wherever he wants, and Ahsoka keeps communing with Anakin the rest of the show.
I don't like that, but
I mean, I think Ahsoka needs to meet Luke. I mean, if she doesn't meet Luke in the show or in books or something.
Yeah, but I kind of, that's true. I mean, like I guess Luke could tell Ahsoka how Anakin got redeemed at the end,
right?
Yeah.
And then after that, I can see the connection. But but the three of them at the same time, I think that would
having
be
a party. It's like, come on. I mean,
you think
it could be any combination of things, but I think maybe if there's like an Anakin Force Ghost, I think it's stronger if it's anchored through Luke establishing that connection somehow. Maybe he doesn't have to be there at the ghost party, but he has to, I think he should meet Ahsoka first before Anakin can show up.
2 cents.
I mean, and you know what? Let's throw Grogu in there, just for the magic.
Well, he is with Luke at the time, so they're just having a little baby Padawan adventure. So
let's throw a little bit of magic in there and add a baby Grogu. The meeting of the last, and then of the last Jedi.
The Last Jedis.
That would be awesome if they named that episode The Last Jedi, just to mess with fans. It's like, hey, fans who didn't like that movie, this episode's called The Last Jedi. Even though I think the plural of Jedis is still Jedi, it's not with an S, but whatever. So that means they could make it work even better then.
The Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
Yeah. So it opens up the door to a lot of possibilities. I have no idea what they're going to do in general with the Ahsoka show. I hope it is about the search for Ezra, not just, that the reason she's looking for Thrawn is because it's the, the search for Ezra. We know that Sabine's showing up, right?
I don't think that's confirmed. I think that's just a very heavily implied rumor, but I could be wrong. But she has to. If they're
Because-
looking for Ezra, she has to show up in the show.
Well, and that's how the show ended with White Ahsoka showing up and picking up Sabine because
Look at the
you know
white-
they're going.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. Which again is what weirded me out about the Ahsoka, how Ahsoka was presented in The Mandalorian, because we didn't
Mhm.
really see Ahsoka the White. We saw this kind of like still
Ahsoka the
angry
Great.
and everything as Ahsoka. So I don't know. So I
To
don't
be
know how they're
fair,
gonna-
we don't know when in the timeline the final scene of
Mandalorian
Rebels
was
is set.
yeah.
No, Rebels.
Oh,
Rebels could have
Rebels.
that scene could have been like after Mandalorian or something. I don't think it was established when necessarily that was. So there's still maybe the possibility that the Ahsoka we're seeing as the gray is still the past Ahsoka, and then Ahsoka the white. We're still to see her in live action. Maybe because she doesn't have the staff, and I want to see
Yeah,
staff.
they-
Come on.
The cowl and the cape and everything. Yeah.
We-
I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, having Hayden Christensen show up,
Mhm.
I think it's very interesting. I think it
Yeah.
opens the doors for a lot of things to happen. Just as you know, we know that we're gonna get them, and we've known for a while that we're gonna get him in Obi-Wan.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
even though he's showing up as Darth Vader, you don't get Hayden Christensen
yeah.
just to play Darth Vader. There's a lot of other like body doubles and stuff that are
Right.
willing to play this character. So
And who
you're
have
doing and who have. So if you're picking Hayden Christensen specifically, I feel like he has to show up as Anakin
Mhm,
at
mhm.
some point. So this whole possibility of maybe it connecting like the Obi-Wan show somehow with the Ahsoka show, like that could be a
Yeah,
possibility.
like
I don't know
is
if I
Obi-Wan
like
showing
it.
up? Is Obi-Wan showing
Yeah.
up then in Ahsoka as a flashback? Is Ahsoka showing up in Obi-Wan as a flashback? Is there like some I don't know, holiday special episode where the both shows cross over? Like what's happening? It's madness. I don't know. I need to know.
Madness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if I
Obi-Wan-
like that much though. Like everybody just crossovering into everybody's territory. I don't know if I enjoy that. I don't
I
know.
think it would be interesting if it happens in like different timelines, like yeah, the Obi-Wan show is set like between 3 and 4, and like he's old and grizzled there, but then if he shows up with Ahsoka, it's a, in the past, so like it's a young Obi-Wan with the apprentice Anakin and all that stuff. So they're showing up with like within all these shows, but in different points of the timeline, so you get to see different aspects of the relationships.
the evolution of the character.
Because I mean, it's too. All of these shows are
good.
filming more or less at the same time, and
Yeah.
they have the big 3 of the Clone Wars. So I think it would be a missed opportunity to not
If
do
you
something
didn't.
with all
Mhm.
of them if you already have them working on projects at the same time ish, more or less. So I mean, I'm not giving a guarantee about anything, but I think the opportunity is there for the taking. Like if they don't give us
Right for the
Hayden
picking.
and Ewan dressed in Clone Wars armor, like they lost the war. They lost the Star War.
What were you gonna
Bruce
say, Mo?
really wants.
I know
I don't know
he
what to say.
really wants this to happen.
It has to. It has to.
Let's just put it out there, make it happen. No, I was gonna say like it'll be. I have like this. I have Rosario Dawson and Christian Hayden Christensen worked together before.
They used to date, so in a way,
Oh.
yes.
Interesting.
They did
So
really? I
so
didn't know that.
it'll be a if we
Let me
it'll be
fact check
good
myself real
interesting
quick.
to see that dynamic happen on
See
screen.
how that works. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, that might.
I mean, she
that might-
confirmed it
that
on
might
her
make it-
Instagram.
That might
Oh,
make it or
okay.
break it. So
Yeah, if there's what the chemistry is like there. Mhm.
yeah,
Because there's something really special about the Anakin and Ahsoka relationship that
yeah, that
if they don't do that correctly, it could crash and burn.
it could
It really could.
really could.
Mhm.
Let's
Yep.
see. I'm trying to fact check
and-
myself here. Yeah.
And how do you present also, we've never seen if they're going the Force Ghost route, and it's not just
Yeah.
flashbacks or dreams.
Mhm. Yeah.
If like how are they gonna balance out who Ahsoka knew, who was a much younger Anakin, which had like a lot more sprite and now an Anakin that's been traumatized
Right.
by everything that Darth Vader has done. Like, what's going to be the portrayal of that Anakin is going to be also very important, because you can't just have Anakin act like the Anakin Ahsoka knew.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
That
he has to be a more mellow person that's, you know, has grappled with the darkness that they went through, and now is in a position of maturity and wiseness, as opposed to, you know, the quirky, fun, adventure going Anakin. So definitely it has to be like a more serious take on Anakin's character.
Well, and Ahsoka herself as well, who has grown up a lot since that relationship that they had together. So, and she doesn't really need to depend on anybody anymore. She's a force of nature unto herself. So how they play that relationship between them is going to be really interesting. And to your point, Mo, that they have to like balance out the Anakin character, you know, with all the trauma that happened, and the fact that he's a lot older too, you know, than he's portrayed physically as Hayden Christensen, which I always thought was an odd choice at the end of the movie when they switched out the original person who played, you know, Anakin as a Force ghost, because it does make sense to have, fine, you return with the Jedi robes and all of that, but it's a person that has matured and it's different. And then they kind of inserted Hayden Christensen there at the end, but that Anakin is not the Anakin that was redeemed.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I thought that was always a weird choice. So now that we do have Hayden Christensen coming back as this character and potentially as the Force ghost himself, how they play that is going to be really important, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a balancing act as well, because you don't want the characterization of Anakin to be like completely different from what we've known before. Yeah, I think he has to be serious and mature, but still have that playfulness
reckless
behind them,
kind of,
you know, so it kind of shines through a little bit, so you can see like, oh, that's the Anakin we knew. He's just you know, he's just wiser now, and he's been through some stuff, so he's definitely got a more serious outlook on life, but he's still a fun guy beneath it all. So it'll be definitely interesting, unless we're completely wrong and he's not going to be a Force ghost and it's all just going to be flashbacks. Who knows? Maybe he's just going to be in one episode as a holo recording that she found in some temple, and it's just him in the past.
And we're super overanalyzing this. Yeah, and we're super overanalyzing this, and it's just like a cameo moment, and that's
a glorified cameo. Yeah, and maybe he's an Obi-Wan show. He's actually Darth Vader, and we never see his face. We're like completely wrong about all of our theories.
Yeah,
which is the fun thing about theorizing. Theorizing is about fun.
You'll be down for us like being completely wrong, Mo?
Oh yeah. I love being wrong.
Yeah.
I prefer to be surprised than to just be surprised in a way that I'm happy with, as opposed to just being like, see, I was right, and then there's no excitement in storytelling anymore.
Yeah,
it's the best way, I think, is to be almost right. We're like, oh, you got some of it, but like there's something that's a little different. You're like,
that still surprised you.
Right.
Yeah. So you feel like a little bit of satisfaction that you got something right, but also the joy of like, ooh, they tricked
I didn't
me.
Expect that.
Awesome. Yeah. I think you're right about that.
Or even if, you know, you're right, but then it's so spectacularly done that you're like, thank you for doing it that way. Because
yeah, I agree with that.
Or when
sometimes
you're
it's like
wrong.
or when you're spectacularly wrong. Yeah, that's always really good, when it's like, wow, that went the complete opposite way I thought that was going. But if it's done right, it is really satisfying. It's like, I did not even imagine that, but it works. So yay.
The best examples of that are Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, because they both went completely different to how I thought they were both gonna go, but in opposite ways. Like one was like, I love it, and the other one's like, whoa, that was not what I expected. I'll have to not think about it for a while. But I do hope though that I do hope though that the Ahsoka show, that the Rebels scene, to kind of go back to Rebels and when that scene happened, is during the Ahsoka show at some point, so we see that transformation between Ahsoka, like the gray that's like more cynical, right, in Mandalorian, versus like her transformation into Ahsoka the White, and we see the staff and all that stuff.
And the whole
'cause, you know,
thing.
she looks so epic with that. And
I know,
hopefully,
yeah.
maybe Luke and Anakin are both stepping stones to her, like her transformation, right, into like that mythical character, right, that we saw at the end of the show, and leads to her being able then to find and rescue Ezra. So maybe like this happens a midway through the show, and then she goes off into the unknown regions or wherever, which would explain why she's not during the sequel trilogy or doing things in the main timeline, because she's off, right, somewhere else, finding Ezra and like finding her doing her Jedi stuff in a completely different sector of the galaxy. And then Anakin, gives her life support every once in a while.
Yep.
I think that would be really interesting. So
with Sabine, and maybe then Anakin through Ezra and Ahsoka establish like a Jedi Temple Academy thing in the unknown regions, do like Jedi somewhere else that are the Jedi as they should have been through Ahsoka.
I would not be against that.
And then Luke, in his hubris, denies that academy and creates his own academy.
No, but he wouldn't know about it, right? Because they're in the unknown region, so he can't access them at all, because you can't get to them there at this point.
Two competing rising academies.
Competing without even knowing they're competing, exactly. And maybe in the future, then like post Episode 9 world, then Rey and Ezra meet up, and they're like, "Oh, we're doing similar things. New Jedi. Let's combine, do our Uber Academy."
Uber Academy. The Galactic Jedi Academy.
Yeah.
And if somehow Grogu ends up with Ahsoka, and in that academy, he will be spared the massacre of Kylo Ren. Yeah. So
Grogu's safe. Grogu's gonna be the next, Yoda. Like,
I hope so. I mean, I doubt that Disney's gonna kill or at least imply that Grogu was killed at Luke's temple, but they need to address it, and I think that's an elegant way to do it. It's like, okay, Ahsoka comes around, and it's like, okay, I can train him, because Luke is just like, hey, I'm a little busy, and this guy, is stealing all my food, so I can't really deal with him.
So I think that would be a pretty cool solution if they go that way. So I don't know. There's so many ways that this can go, and I bet we're mostly wrong. So
Are there things that we can be almost sure that we can be guaranteed to be right about in terms of Anakin's appearances? Like, will he appear as a Force ghost, or will he appear as a flashback? And if he appears as a flashback, at what point during the timeline would we see him? I think those are kind of the big three things about his potential appearances in these shows. Because for Obi-Wan, for example, if he does appear without the mask, maybe he's like literally like without the mask, but in the Vader suit, like in the burnt up thing that we saw from Rogue One. Just that, maybe that's
the
right. And we don't. And all of our theories about flashbacks in Obi-Wan are wrong, and it's just like,
and it's just
see his face in the armor.
that'll be like really cool, like almost like Darth Vader shaming Obi-Wan, like, oh, is this how
look what you did to me?
This is how you left me. Like, is this what you do to your brother or something like that?
Oh,
that'll be dark, but I'm here for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, you can pull it off with Hayden and Ewan,
Oh yeah.
And maybe. Oh yeah, and in that circumstance, and then maybe Anakin does the same line that Obi-Wan did, because how Obi-Wan's like, "You were my brother, Anakin," and then maybe Anakin then throws that out. It's like, "You were my brother, Obi-Wan," and it's like, reverse.
It'll be like almost like Darth Vader wanting, like, if you had been there for me, maybe I would not have still gone to the dark side, like kind of situation.
If you had been more like Qui-Gon, you wouldn't have failed me. Like, guilt.
Well, and I mean, what Obi-Wan did there at the end was like really cruel, because if you really are his brother and you think he's done for, just make sure you finish him off. You don't just leave him there half dead without limbs, just slowly burning to death. That was grim.
That was cruel. I mean, that was cruel.
Yeah, that was cruel. So and completely unnecessary.
That's only necessary if it's true that Obi-Wan was dating Padme at the same time. So, and then maybe Maybe it makes sense. Let's make it a telenovela. Let's expand.
Let's make it a
Right. That's in Star Wars Visions season
Yeah.
2, and it's American Star Wars Visions. We'll have the retelling as a telenovela. I mean, we've talked about we've talked about the potentialities of the prequels
Sure.
already. So, but yeah, I don't know. The prospect of all these shows are just very interesting. I know we've talked before about wanting to just see new Star Wars and not relying on the nostalgia and rehashing some of the old things, but the possibilities of just Obi-Wan and Ahsoka specifically to kind of tie all these loose ends together of post original trilogy characters from their prequel trilogy timelines is just very, very, very exciting for sure. And especially to see, right, Hayden again, we said it before at the beginning, but come back and redeem himself in a more fulfilling fashion where we get to see these relationships conclude or grow. Well, conclude maybe with Ahsoka and then continue with Obi-Wan would be fantastic. And especially if we, again, I'm going to put it out there again, have the Luke and Anakin encounter at some point. Because I think we need to see a little bit more of Luke and Anakin having conversations post the Return of the Jedi little cameo at the end. Because, you know, if he came back once, he needs to come back again and be like, okay, son, here's what's happened. And do kind of a How I Met Your Mother style thing with Luke to kind of explain everything that happened so he can understand.
That's How I Met Your Mother.
When I was a child and it wasn't creepy at all. That's crazy.
Nice.
Yeah. But it's nice to talk about it this way because it is open to so many possibilities, and that's what makes it really exciting because they're not giving us like any information. So I think it should be this way the whole time, and everything's a surprise, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have announced the whole Anakin thing because that would have been even more mind-blowing to just all of a sudden it's like, wait, Anakin and Ahsoka? So
what?
It would have been better if they had done like a Grogu thing where you didn't, and no one knew about Grogu until he showed up in that first episode. Or Luke, where no one else, but those two reveals that no one knew anything about was so special that I think they could have done the same with Hayden. Yeah, because I think they did it right with the Obi-Wan show, revealing his casting because he's cast as Darth Vader. So it's like we don't really know too much about the extent of his role and how we'll see him. But to kind of reveal him on Ahsoka that way demystifies a little bit the show in a sense. I mean, it still adds questions, right, about how it's happening. But I think it would have been way more mind-blowing to boom, he just shows up and everyone's jaw just hits the floor.
Drops. Yeah.
Well, that's
especially because go.
No, sorry. No,
go.
Okay, fine. Especially, I'm guessing if it was either somebody leaked it, and they just got ahead of it, or they're running their magic show. You know, oh, I'm revealing you this, but I'm gonna
hiding all these other things.
Special at you. You're not gonna expect that. So,
I hope so. Well, maybe that's what like the castings for Thrawn, Ezra, and Sabine are gonna be. They're just like, okay, we're not gonna announce those. You just get Anakin. That's it.
You just get Anakin.
And maybe just as a cameo, like you were saying, it's like, oh, we made such a big deal out of it. It was just a cameo.
And forget about it. Yeah. Which I'm okay with too. It's just like I'm okay.
Yeah.
It's
maybe it'll be like a hologram of the killing of the younglings.
Oh God.
Who knows?
I hope not.
That would hurt too much.
You can't see the junglings, you just see Anakin.
Well, that's what we saw. Well, we didn't see that, right?
Exactly.
We saw the hologram of him killing other Jedis, but some variation of that. I mean, I want darkness, don't get me wrong, but like I think we need to see a different side of that Anakin darkness than that disturbing piece of younglings. That's too much, I feel.
Especially since Anakin has been, redeemed, and we haven't really gotten much more from this other version of Anakin. So I think it'll be interesting to see like a lighter version of him. So
yes.
So I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it now more than before. Not that we weren't looking out for it, but this news just rocked the Star Wars community lately, so we couldn't go
Just
go
ignore it.
without discussing it. Yeah.
Yep. Definitely. So does anybody else have any more speculations? Or do we think we're good?
Speculations that are probably wrong. I think everything's been said. So now it's just a waiting game to see what happens.
It's just a waiting.
Yep. So big news from Star Wars. Now these shows already had almost infinite possibilities of what we could see. Now we have even more exciting things. We have no idea what's going to happen. We just have to wait and see. And obviously more Star Wars is good Star Wars. So we are excited for what's upcoming.
Yeah, we're like the watcher right now. Ponder the question. What if?
You can check
So
us
I guess
out.
yeah, check those out too. I guess with that, we are done. We are Triad of the Force. You can find us anywhere that podcast can be found. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Like, subscribe, ring that bell. We have t-shirts. Like, comment, and let us know what you think about us. You know, you don't all have to love us. But anyway, I guess with that, may the Force
We love you.
be with you. And we do love you.